Eggs after 50 can feel like a surprisingly emotional topic for a lot of men, especially when different doctors, articles, and online voices seem to give completely different advice. If you've ever wondered whether eggs are still okay to eat, whether they quietly affect your prostate, or whether you should be cutting them out completely, this is a conversation many men are having privately. Most men don't talk about it openly, but urologists hear these questions every single day. This isn't about panic, guilt, or food fear. It's about understanding how the body changes after 50 and how certain foods interact with inflammation, hormones, and circulation over time. Eggs aren't good or bad by default, and they aren't a cure or a cause on their own. What matters is context, frequency, and how your body responds now compared to when you were younger. Medical research has shown that as men age, the prostate becomes more sensitive to chronic inflammation and hormonal shifts. Testosterone levels slowly change, estrogen activity becomes more relevant, and the way the body processes fats and cholesterol is not the same as it was at 30. This is why dietary advice often changes after midlife, not because foods suddenly become dangerous, but because the environment inside the body is different. In this video, we're going to walk through why eggs after 50 can be confusing, what doctors actually mean when they say moderation, how eggs relate to inflammation and prostate comfort, and the one factor that most men overlook when deciding how often to eat them. A lot of men grow up believing eggs are a perfect food. They're affordable, filling, high in protein, and easy to prepare. For decades, eggs were even promoted as a staple for strength and energy. Then cholesterol concerns entered the conversation, and suddenly eggs became controversial. Some men reacted by avoiding them completely, while others ignored the warnings entirely. The truth, as usual, sits somewhere in between. Eggs contain high-quality protein and important nutrients like choline, which supports nerve and muscle function. For aging men, maintaining muscle mass becomes increasingly important, and protein intake plays a role there. From that perspective, eggs can be useful. However, eggs also contain dietary cholesterol and saturated fat, which interact differently with the body after 50 than they do earlier in life. As men age, the liver's handling of cholesterol can become less efficient. In some men, dietary cholesterol has little effect on blood levels. In others, it can raise markers associated with inflammation. Inflammation matters because the prostate sits in an area where chronic low-grade inflammation can increase pressure, sensitivity, and urinary symptoms over time. This doesn't mean eggs inflame the prostate directly. It means that for some men, eating eggs frequently, especially daily, can contribute to a broader inflammatory pattern that the prostate is already sensitive to. That asks why two men the same age can eat the same breakfast and experience completely different outcomes. Here's where most men get confused, and where online advice often does more harm than good. Some sources say eggs are completely safe, no matter how many you eat. Others warn that eggs should be avoided entirely after 50. Neither extreme is accurate. Prostate health is influenced by patterns, not single foods, and eggs are only one part of a much larger picture. Another factor that matters is how eggs are prepared. Eggs eaten with vegetables, fiber, and healthy fats behave differently in the body than eggs eaten with processed meats and refined carbohydrates. Cooking methods also play a role. Frying eggs in certain oils at high heat can introduce compounds that contribute to oxidative stress, while gentler preparation methods may be less taxing on the body. Men often underestimate how much their overall diet amplifies or softens the impact of individual foods. A man eating eggs as part of a balanced diet, rich in vegetables, fiber, and anti-inflammatory foods may tolerate them very well. Another man eating eggs alongside processed foods, low fiber, and high sugar, may notice more discomfort over time. Prostate comfort is closely linked to circulation. Blood flow in the pelvic region helps maintain tissue health and reduces sensitivity. Diets that support vascular health indirectly support prostate health as well. Eggs themselves don't block circulation, but diets high in saturated fats can, over time, influence vascular function in susceptible individuals. There's also the hormonal side of the conversation. After 50, hormonal balance becomes more delicate. While eggs don't directly alter hormones in a dramatic way, high intake of animal-based fats may influence hormone metabolism indirectly. This is one reason some doctors recommend spacing out egg consumption rather than eliminating it. If you're dealing with prostate symptoms, you're not alone. Most men experience some level of prostate enlargement or sensitivity as they age. This is a normal biological process influenced by genetics, hormones, and lifestyle. Food choices don't cause prostate issues overnight, and they don't resolve them instantly either. Supporting prostate health usually comes down to three things: keeping inflammation in check, supporting healthy blood flow, and avoiding unnecessary pressure in the pelvic region. Eggs can fit into this framework, but how often and how they re-consumed matters more than whether they re-included at all. Another overlooked factor is how eggs affect digestion. Digestive stress can increase systemic inflammation, which then affects sensitive tissues like the prostate. Some men digest eggs easily, while others experience subtle discomfort, bloating, or sluggishness without connecting it to what they ate. Paying attention to how you feel after eating eggs can be more informative than following rigid rules. The idea of how much is too much doesn't have a single number that applies to every man over 50. For some, 1 egg a day causes no issues. For others, eating eggs daily may slowly contribute to discomfort. This is why many urologists suggest moderation rather than elimination. Eating eggs a few times a week instead of every day is often a reasonable starting point for men who are unsure how they affect them. It's also important to consider what replaces eggs if they're reduced. Cutting eggs without replacing protein can lead to muscle loss, which creates its own health challenges after 50. The goal isn't restriction, it's balance. There are also myths that need to be cleared up. Eggs don't shrink the prostate and they don't enlarge it directly. Claims that one food can dramatically change prostate size are usually oversimplified. Real prostate support is slow, subtle, and built over months and years, not days. Shame plays a big role in how men approach prostate health. Many men quietly adapt to symptoms instead of exploring what might help. They wake up more often at night, avoid long trips, or change routines without ever addressing the root factors. Talking openly about food, habits, and body changes is part of taking control, not something to feel embarrassed about. Hydration patterns also interact with diet. Men who eat protein-heavy meals without adequate hydration may notice urinary irritation. Balancing protein intake, including eggs, with proper hydration earlier in the day can help reduce unnecessary strain on the bladder and prostate. Sleep quality ties into this as well. Poor sleep increases inflammatory markers in the body. Men who eat heavy meals late in the evening, including eggs, may disrupt sleep without realizing it. Timing matters just as much as quantity. The most overlooked factor when deciding how often to eat eggs after 50 is self-observation. Many men follow advice blindly, without checking how their own body responds. Paying attention to urinary comfort, digestion, energy levels, and sleep after different meals provides clues that no article can replace. Understanding your body is the first step toward feeling better long-term. Eggs after 50 don't need to be feared or glorified. They're simply a food that interacts with an aging body in nuanced ways. The goal isn't perfection, it's awareness. Prostate health after 50 isn't about cutting everything enjoyable out of your life. It's about making small, sustainable adjustments that support comfort, sleep, and daily function. When food choices align with how your body feels, decisions become clearer and less stressful. If you take one thing away from this discussion, let it be this: there is no universal number that defines too much when it comes to eggs after 50. There is only the balance that works for your body, your health patterns, and your comfort. Paying attention, adjusting gradually, and avoiding extremes is often the most supportive approach. Understanding these patterns puts you back in control, and that's where better long-term health usually begins.